Okay, hey, welcome to the Timmy Riggs podcast, Life in the Meantime. It is 2020. This is my first official recording in 2020. Okay, so I'm going to kind of title this Getting Better, #in the Meantime, and I'll just say it right off the bat. I am a sucker for New Year's. I love making resolutions. I love making new goals. I'm always on top of that, and so I don't care. No shame. I do it every year, and I even pick a word. I'm one of those guys. So, and maybe you're not. That's fine. Maybe you are, and maybe you're in between, and you're figuring it out in the meantime. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how I have shaped the beginning of 2020, or am hoping to be able to shape the whole year of 2020 in some of the ways that I'm doing that. And so this year for my word, which is my third year to pick a word. The first year I did it was 2018. I picked the word produce because I was a really good starter with things, but I didn't always finish. And so I wanted to make sure I had that little extra, like, hey, be somebody who finishes. And so that's why I picked the word produce. Last year I picked the word listen because I constantly talk, and hence the podcast. And so this year the word is clean. And the goal is every year to let the words compound. So continue to live them out and focus on them, but each year add a new word. So my new word this year is clean. And what do I want clean? Well, first, I want a clean space. I'm a little bit like Einstein. You know, what can I say? I let clutter collect, and I don't want to do that. I want to get rid of things that I don't use, or things that just take up space and collect dust. And I don't know. I think it's something that I've done my whole life. And so I want to get rid of having a lot of clutter. And so that's why one of the reasons I picked the word clean. And I actually, even at Christmas time, picked or asked for a couple books for clean. So one of them is Marie Kondo, the book about sparking joy and being clean. And I've read it, and she is heavy about decluttering, throwing stuff away. I didn't finish it yet. I'm not done, but I want to finish the whole thing, kind of implement some of the things that she's taught me. And so I'm tired of having clutter. I want my desk to be clean all the time. I want all the spaces I'm around to be clean. I also want a clean schedule. I want to make sure that I'm kind of planned out a full week in advance all the time. And not that I'm not going to leave room in there for, spontaneous things, but I got a lot going on. I think more and more stuff. I think that's for anybody who gets older. They start feeling like they have more and more things going on. So I want to have an organized schedule. I want to be on top of what I'm doing. I want to have a clean mindset. This includes being positive, not allowing myself to think, little of people, but instead building them up, some things like that. I want to stay focused on my jobs and goals. I want to be faith-filled and believing with kind of a pure heart that good will come. I don't want to just kind of think, well, the worst thing's going to happen, or not to be anticipating that good is going to happen. I want to have a good mindset, a clean mindset, not allowed it to get cluttered. I also just I want kind of clean tools, you know what I'm saying? So our phones, my computer, I don't want a lot of windows and browsers up. I don't want a bunch of notification. I'm the worst. I was talking one time with my buddy Jake, and he didn't text somebody back right away, and he kind of always is on top of that. And I was like, dude, Jake, you need to take a breath. And he's like, well, I don't want to let anybody down. And I was like, dude, I let people down every day. Because we looked at my notifications, I had 507 emails, I had 98 texts, and we got to laugh about that. But that's a weakness, and that's something I need to be better at, and I can find a good middle ground. And so I want to be clean in that area. Clean. I don't want notifications and things like that. And so those kind of my word. Period. Then some other goals, some daily habits, a few other things that I wanted to do for 2020. And the secret is, I learned this from a good friend, Craig Rochelle. Okay, I don't know if you've heard about him, but he's a great leader, great pastor, and somebody that is always throwing out good, helpful tips. And he said that for so long, he would start the New Year's and he'd throw 10, 15 things out there that he would try to do. And he realized that he kind of always failed. And so the difference was, he was like, hey, each year's going to become, why don't I just pick one habit a year, but then continue to let them compound? So just like my word, how about I pick one habit this year, and then next year I pick a new habit, but I still continue to do my habit from last year. And so I have 4 habits now. Now, a couple of these, 3 years ago, I picked no soda. I did that well, crushed it. Some friends and I did it together. Last year, I dabbled in soda. I let myself drink more than I expected. So this year, I was like, no soda again, completely cutting off. Last year, my thing was 5 a.m. and 5 a.m. club. So that was waking up at 5 a.m. I probably hit it 3 out of the 7 days. And so I want to be way more on top of that. No biting my nails. That's this year's number 1. It's gross, and my dad will always tell me, like, hey, you're a professional now, right? Like, you shake people's hands, and you just are an adult, so stop biting your nails. And I agree, and so this is the year I'm going to stop biting my nails. If you listened to my podcast last week with Emma and I, you know that we talked about that together. So that's that. And then the other one's 10 pages a day in my book. So over 4 years, I'm now up to 4 habits. And like I just said, I haven't crushed them all over the 4 years, but I do them way more than I ever would have. And so maybe this year you just instill one habit. And we're 1 week into 2020. If you haven't done any of this, you could at least say, all right, I'm going to pick one new habit, right? So the big one that I love about 10 pages a day is it seems like nothing. It seems like such a small amount. But add that into a full year. Multiply that by a full year. So 10 pages by 365 days is 3,650 pages. And that is on the average between, 12 to 18 books. And that is, if you read 18 books, you're reading 17 more than the average person. In fact, you're probably reading 17 and a half more. And books are how I have transformed my way of thinking. I was never a reader. I'm still a slow reader. That's why 10 pages a day feels great for me. And I do that in my morning. So I'm crushing 2 habits in the morning before most people wake up. And so that feels really good. And that's how I want to close today. I want to invite anybody that maybe wants to pick up the habits that I'm trying to do, because I think that would be fun if we're able to kind of do it together and kind of build a club, build a team. I don't know. If you're listening, text me, message me, email me, whatever. And I think that would be really cool. And the number 1 that would be really helpful is the 5 a.m. club. So today is January 8th. I have no idea what the date is when you're listening, but Casey Myers and I have been, that's my buddy, we've been doing the 5 a.m. club since January 2nd. So we had, 6 days straight or whatever. And I read a book last year, 5 a.m. club. I'm real big on, like, if you're going to pick a habit, I want to get a book that connect, like something that gives me a little bit of an edge, right? Like have some knowledge about it. And in that book, it told me that if you can do it for 66 days straight, no matter what, if you don't get to bed till 1, wake up at 5, take a nap that day. But 66 days straight basically hardwires it in your brain to where even afterwards, I'm sure, yes, you could probably kick it, but even afterwards, if I want to sleep in, my sleeping in is going to be 6:30 set. Like, I'm still going to be an early riser. And that's what I want. And I want it to be just fully in my DNA, completely hardwired to where I pop up at 5 a.m. and I get going. I love doing that because waking up early, it's quiet, no one's texting you, you're not getting any notifications, and just having that coffee, I have prayer, I read scripture, I read my other book, I do a lot of other things, but it's just awesome to have that morning, and you just feel like, man, I'm already like winning the day, and it makes you feel kind of like you're able to put your shoulders back when you walk out the door. So if anyone wants to jump on the 5 a.m. club, let's make it a real club. And I don't know, maybe we text each other in the morning, or just kind of say, hey, hope you're doing this, or be like, I found this article about why it's important to wake up early, or when you should go to bed, or stop, fill in the blank, whatever. So that's that. And that is getting better, #in the meantime. And those are my habits for 2020. And one word, 4 habits. And they're not all new. Only one really new main one. And that's the not biting my nails and putting a lot of energy into not doing that, because it's disgusting and makes me look like a 4-year-old. So, and as I close, I want to leave you with this. I'll be preaching over Mark pretty much the whole semester in my college group, and I will be preaching next Wednesday on Mark 2. And at the very end of that, Jesus basically says this line that's pretty cool. He says, you can't put new wine in old wineskins. Of course, back then, 2,000 years ago, they would have kept it in almost this kind of, I don't know exactly, but I actually think it was kind of like a leather satchel, something from an animal where they'd have kept the wine in. And so the pouch over time would have got deteriorated and wouldn't be able to hold new things because the new thing's so fresh that this old thing isn't able to contain it. And so when you think about wanting to have a new year and a new types of habits and maybe a different outcome, maybe you got to the end of 2019 and you're like, man, that was not the year I was expecting. I did things I didn't want to do. I put on some extra weight. I didn't get to work on time. I didn't get to those meetings like I was supposed to. Whatever it is. I wasn't at church as much. I wasn't plugged into my community. I didn't lead my small group like I'd hoped. You can't expect to have different results in 2020 if you're not doing different things in the meantime, right? And not to overuse that, but ultimately you have to have new wineskins. You have to change the way that you're living your life. And sometimes that feels a little harsh, but ultimately that's what we have to do. And if we do, we're going to have different outcomes. And so I hope that whatever it is you're hoping to see at the end of 2020, you're able to implement some things that can make that happen. All right, well, thank you for listening. And if you have continued to listen consistently, let me know. That's really encouraging. Some of you already have, so thank you. But it makes me feel like what I'm doing is worth it. And I know who I'm talking to, so it can make sense, And also, share it with your friends and do the classic subscribe and leave reviews and stuff. Somehow it helps. I don't really know how, but apparently it helps get it out there more. And so if you do that, that would be awesome. The goal is for me to release a new one every Wednesday, but I would love to even throw sporadic ones around as well at any time of the week. So hope you're doing well, and I hope your life is treating you good in the meantime.